By lunchtime, $6 billion had vanished. And so had he. On December 6, 2017, investors woke up to ordinary news. Steinhoff, one of the largest furniture and retail companies in the world, was about to release its annual results. Nothing seemed unusual. By that afternoon, the company's stock had collapsed by more than 90%. $6 billion in value, gone within hours. The chief executive, a man who had built this empire from a single furniture store in South Africa into a global giant, had resigned and disappeared. This is the story of Markus Jooste and the lie that took down one of the largest retail companies on earth. To understand Steinhoff's collapse, you need to understand how far it had come. The company began modestly in 1964, founded in Germany as a small furniture trading business. But it was Markus Jooste who transformed it into something far larger. Jooste joined the company in the 1980s, rising quickly through its South African operations. He was charismatic, ambitious, a former athlete with a reputation for working harder and pushing harder than anyone around him. By the early 2000s, he had become chief executive, and he immediately set out on an aggressive expansion strategy, acquisition after acquisition. Steinhoff bought furniture chains across Europe, Conforama in France, Poco in Germany. It pushed into the United States, acquiring Mattress Firm, one of the largest mattress retailers in the country. By 2016, Steinhoff operated more than 12,000 stores across 40 countries. It employed over 100,000 people. Investors watched the company's revenue and profits climb year after year, seemingly immune to the economic downturns that hurt its competitors. Jooste cultivated an image of brilliance. He was celebrated in South African business circles as a national success story, a man who had taken a regional furniture company and turned it into a global conglomerate rivaling IKEA in scale. He drove luxury cars, owned a wine farm, and was a fixture at high society events and horse racing circuits across South Africa and Europe. Behind closed doors, Jooste ran the company with near total control. Board members later described a culture where questioning him was discouraged. Financial reporting was centralized around a small group of loyal executives, making it difficult for outsiders, including auditors, to fully understand the company's true financial position. What investors saw was a relentless growth machine. What they did not see was how that growth was actually being financed. Much of it, investigators would later determine, was an illusion built on a web of off-balance sheet entities and fabricated transactions that inflated the company's profits by billions of euros over more than a decade. The warning signs at Steinhoff stretched back more than a decade before the collapse. As early as 2008, a whistleblower within the company raised concerns about irregular transactions involving entities connected to senior executives. The complaint triggered an internal review, but it was quietly settled, and the executives involved remained in their positions. Throughout the 2010s, short sellers and independent analysts repeatedly questioned Steinhoff's accounting practices. They pointed to unusually high profit margins compared to competitors, complex corporate structures spanning multiple tax havens, and acquisitions that seemed to be priced far above reasonable market value. One German newspaper published an investigation in 2015, raising specific questions about Steinhoff's accounting. The company publicly denied any wrongdoing, and its stock price barely reacted. Auditors at Deloitte, one of the world's largest accounting firms, had signed off on Steinhoff's financial statements for years. Internal emails later uncovered during the investigation revealed that some Deloitte staff had raised concerns about specific transactions, but these concerns were not escalated in a way that triggered a broader investigation. Markus Jooste was widely respected within financial circles. He maintained close relationships with several major banks that continued lending billions to Steinhoff, confident in the company's reported financial health. The complexity of Steinhoff's corporate structure made it extraordinarily difficult for outsiders to trace exactly where money was flowing. Subsidiaries within subsidiaries, transactions between related entities that inflated reported profits without any real underlying economic activity. By 2017, some analysts had grown increasingly vocal, publishing reports questioning whether Steinhoff's numbers could possibly be accurate. Steinhoff's own auditors, preparing the company's 2017 annual report, began asking deeper questions than they had in previous years. For the first time in nearly a decade, Someone inside the system meant to catch this was finally looking closely enough to see what had been there all along. Here's what most people never learn. The fraud wasn't hidden in secret files. It was hidden in plain sight, inside thousands of ordinary transactions that looked completely normal to anyone not looking closely enough. Stay with me. In late November 2017, Steinhoff's auditors at Deloitte refused to sign off on the company's financial statements without further investigation. This was an extraordinary move. Auditors rarely take this step so close to a scheduled results announcement. Behind closed doors, the company's supervisory board launched an urgent internal investigation, bringing in outside forensic accountants to examine the suspicious transactions that auditors had flagged. What they found was staggering. A network of off-balance sheet entities, many controlled by associates closely linked to Markus Jooste, had been used to create fictitious profits through transactions that had no genuine economic substance. On December 5, 2017, Markus Jooste resigned as chief executive, effective immediately. The official statement cited accounting irregularities. The next morning, December 6, Steinhoff confirmed publicly that its financial statements going back multiple years could no longer be relied upon. Trading in the stock opened and immediately began to crater. Within hours, shares had fallen by more than 90%. Pension funds across South Africa, many holding significant Steinhoff stock as part of retirement portfolios for ordinary workers, watched billions of dollars in value disappear in a single trading session. The South African rand itself weakened against major currencies, reflecting the sheer scale of the company's importance to the country's economy. Jooste, once celebrated as one of South Africa's most successful businessmen, had effectively vanished from public view. He did not appear at any press conference, and he issued no public statement beyond his brief resignation notice. Investigators in South Africa, Germany, and elsewhere began opening formal inquiries, but for the thousands of investors, employees, and pensioners whose financial futures had been tied to Steinhoff, the damage was already done. The empire Jooste had spent 3 decades building had collapsed in less than 24 hours. In the months following the collapse, Steinhoff faced an existential fight for survival. The company negotiated with creditors across multiple countries, restructuring billions in debt, simply to avoid complete liquidation. Thousands of jobs across its global operations were eventually cut as the company sold off assets to stay afloat. Investigations, launched in South Africa and Germany, moved slowly, hampered by the sheer complexity of Steinhoff's corporate structure, which spanned dozens of jurisdictions and made evidence gathering extraordinarily difficult. In Germany, prosecutors eventually filed charges against Markus Jooste and several other former executives, accusing them of fraud and market manipulation. Jooste has consistently denied the most serious allegations against him, though he has acknowledged some involvement in irregular accounting practices. As of recent years, the criminal proceedings remain ongoing, moving slowly through European court systems. In 2023, South African authorities announced Jooste faced over 300 criminal charges related to fraud, racketeering, and market manipulation. Before his scheduled court appearance, in March 2024, Jooste died by suicide at his home in South Africa, just hours before he was due to appear in court. The case against him was formally closed following his death, leaving many of the deepest questions about exactly how the fraud was orchestrated and who else may have known, permanently unanswered. Steinhoff itself survived, though dramatically diminished, eventually restructuring into a smaller entity, focused primarily on its remaining profitable operations. For the pensioners, investors, and employees who had trusted the company with their financial futures, restitution remained limited. Legal settlements provided some compensation, but for many, the losses were simply too large, too permanent, to ever be fully recovered. Before we finish, drop one word in the comments. Do you think Jooste acted alone? Or do you think others inside Steinhoff knew exactly what was happening and stayed silent? One word. I read every single one. And the next case we're covering might be the most unexpected betrayal we've told yet. The most dangerous lies aren't told once. They're told quietly, 1,000 times. Inside transactions too small for anyone to question. If this made you think, subscribe.